What if the silliest song in America once made a queen go quiet at a White House dinner? 1976 was wrapped in glitter and disbelief. A fired radio host became a chart-topping duck. A forgotten symphony learned to dance. A joke about muskrats reached royal ears. Behind every giggle waits a story nobody saw coming. And somewhere ahead, one melody will make you forget every worry you carry. These are not just songs. They are the year America learned to laugh again. Turn up the dial. Let's begin. Number 10. Silly Love Songs by Wings. Have you ever been deeply insulted by your best friend and then turned that exact insult into the biggest hit of the year? Back in the mid-70s, serious rock critics and even his old friend John Lennon were constantly mocking Paul McCartney. They accused him of going soft, of writing nothing but sappy, meaningless romantic tunes. Paul actually considered changing his style just to please them. But during a quiet vacation in Hawaii, he realized something profound. Deep down, everybody secretly wants to be loved. When he walked into Abbey Road Studios, he was not making a joke. He was crafting a brilliant piece of pop rebellion. He sat at the piano, patiently playing the exact melodies for his brass section to learn, while using clever studio double tracking to create that unforgettable vocal harmony. The critics completely rolled their eyes, but the public, well, they proved Paul was absolutely right. The track spent 5 non-consecutive weeks at number 1. Eventually becoming the biggest Billboard hit of 1976. Paul became the first artist ever to score a year-end number 1, with 2 completely different bands. But the real magic of this track is the warm feeling it leaves behind. So the critics can keep their eye rolls. Paul proved that softness is not weakness. It is just honesty set to a melody. And every time this song comes on, somewhere, someone still turns up the volume without a hint of shame. Number 9. Play That Funky Music by Wild Cherry. If you played in a local club band in 1976, you had a very strict survival ritual. You either learned how to make people dance, or you packed up your guitars and went home. The hard rock scene in Ohio was dying, and a group called Wild Cherry was dangerously close to going completely broke. One night, playing to a crowd that clearly wanted disco. Someone in the audience shouted out a simple tease, asking if these white boys were ever going to play some funky music. Lead singer Rob Parisi did not get angry. Instead, he grabbed a drink order pad from the bar and wrote those exact words down. In the studio, their engineer did something completely unheard of for a rock band. He pushed the heavy bass and drums right to the very front of the mix, creating a sweaty, infectious rhythm that you could literally feel in your bones. The record label loved the raw energy so much they immediately flipped it from the B-side to the main single. The track exploded to number 1 on both the pop and R&B charts, selling over 2 million copies. Truth be told, they never scored another top 40 hit again, fading quietly back into normal life. They never charted again, and somehow that only makes the story better. One crowd, one joke, one night of desperation, and a groove that still fills dance floors nearly 50 years on. Not bad for a band that had nothing left to lose. If these songs have put a smile on your face today, give this video a like. It's a simple way to let me know the music of 1976 can still brighten someone's day. Number 8. Disco Duck by Rick Dees. Imagine being fired from your day job, just 5 days before becoming the most famous person in the entire country. Back in 1976, a local radio DJ named Rick Dees wanted to gently poke fun at the massive disco craze taking over America. He remembered an old 60s dance called the duck and decided to record a silly parody track just for a few laughs.
Went to a party the other night.
He went into a Memphis studio and deliberately sped up the vocal tapes to create that ridiculous cartoon voice. It was completely absurd, but his station managers were not laughing at all. They strictly forbade him from playing his own track on the air, claiming it was a conflict of interest, and then they actually fired him. But the joke was entirely on them. Rival stations picked the song up immediately, and by October 1976, this goofy novelty record waddled all the way to #1 on the Billboard Hot 100, eventually selling over 6 million copies worldwide.
When the music stopped, I returned to my seat.
Rick easily landed a new job at a competing station, and his funny little track became a pop culture staple, showing up in movies and board games for decades. Getting fired over a duck sounds absurd until you remember absurdity was the whole point. Rick Dees turned a workplace punishment into a punchline the entire country repeated for a decade, and proved the music business rarely knows what it is laughing at until it is too late. Number 7. Shake Your Booty by Catchy and the Sunshine Band. Imagine writing a completely innocent song about letting go of your fears, only to have radio stations treat it like a major threat to public morals. That is exactly what happened to Harry Wayne Catchy in 1976. Looking out at the club crowds in Miami, he noticed people were simply too shy to get on the floor and express themselves. He wanted to write a positive anthem encouraging folks to stop overthinking and just let loose.
Shake, 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 shake your booty.
When the single dropped, the groove was undeniably infectious. But conservative radio stations across the South completely freaked out. They thought the repeated word in the title was far too provocative for decent ears and outright banned it from their airwaves. Catchy had to constantly defend himself, insisting it was not about bedroom activities at all. It was just about dancing. Despite the ridiculous boycott, the public could not resist the beat. It skyrocketed to #1 on the Billboard Hot 100, becoming their third chart topper. It even holds a funny little record as the only #1 hit with the title word repeated more than 3 times. Looking back, the contrast between then and now is absolutely hilarious. What was once considered a scandalous, restricted track is now played at literally every family wedding and children's party across America. Funny how quickly outrage fades once the dancing starts. A song once too scandalous for polite radio now plays at weddings without a second thought. And that gap between then and now says more about us than it ever did about Catchy.
Shake, 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 shake.
Number 6. A Fifth of Beethoven by Walter Murphy. There is an unwritten rule that you never mess with sacred classical masterpieces. But in 1976, the disco fever sweeping across America was so powerful that it literally rewrote musical history. Walter Murphy was a highly trained classical and jazz musician in Manhattan. While writing a basic commercial jingle, a producer casually challenged him to update some classical music, just as a fun experiment. Walter recorded a 4-track demo. 3 were standard pop songs, and the 4th was a wild, pulsating disco arrangement of Beethoven's Symphony No. 5. Almost every major record label completely ignored it, thinking it was a tasteless joke, until one small indie company finally took a chance. Walter played nearly every single instrument himself, but the label forced him to use a fake band name, Walter Murphy and the Big Apple Band, just so it would look more appealing on the record shelf. Truth be told, traditional classical music lovers were absolutely furious, calling it a total disgrace to a deeply respected composition. But the kids out on the dance floors did not care about the strict rules of high art. They just wanted a good groove. The track climbed the charts for 19 agonizing weeks before finally hitting #1 on the Billboard Hot 100, selling 2 million copies. Walter never scored another top 40 hit. Eventually moving on to write music for television shows, Walter Murphy took a 200-year-old symphony and let it loose on a dance floor, and somehow nobody's reputation suffered for it. Beethoven survived disco just fine. If anything, he picked up a whole new audience who never knew his name until a bass line introduced them. We've reached the halfway point. If you're still here, comment 1976 so I know you're taking this musical journey with me. Number 5. You Should Be Dancing by Bee Gees. Sometimes the happiest sounds on the radio are actually hiding the deepest personal pain. By early 1976, the three Gibb brothers were dangerously close to completely falling apart. They were arguing constantly, exhausted from the changing music industry, and searching desperately for a new direction. During a tense session in Miami, Barry Gibb accidentally pushed his voice into a high, soaring falsetto. He did not know it yet, but he had just discovered the golden sound that would define an entire decade. The studio process was a beautiful chaos. Maurice crafted that driving bass line, while Barry literally sang the horn and guitar parts out loud for the musicians to copy. They even dragged rock legend Stephen Stills in from the hallway just to play some extra percussion. The result was an absolute explosion. The track shot straight to #1 on the Billboard Hot 100, officially launching their massive disco empire. But fame demands a very cruel price. Years later, Barry admitted that the intense hatred they faced when the disco bubble burst haunted him like hell for the rest of his life. Behind that soaring falsetto sat three brothers who paid for their own success in ways the charts never counted. The world got a song to dance to. Barry carried the bill for it quietly. For decades, long after the dance floors emptied. Number 4. Boogie Fever by the Silvers. Do you remember gathering around a bulky color television on a Saturday, watching giant families in matching outfits dancing perfectly in sync? The Silvers were not just a band. They were a massive family of 9 siblings who moved from Memphis to Los Angeles chasing a shared dream. When legendary producer Freddie Perrin took them into the studio, he actually had to audition all 9 kids one by one just to find the perfect lead singer. He picked 18-year-old Edmund for his youthful energy and gave the youngest brother Foster that unforgettable solo bridge. The writers originally wanted to name the track Epidemic, but quickly realized that Boogie Fever sounded way more fun, and they were absolutely right. By early 1976, the infectious groove climbed all the way to #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. Watching all 9 brothers and sisters hit those perfectly synchronized dance moves on Soul Train became an iconic piece of American pop culture. The harsh reality of the music business eventually broke the group apart by 1985, but they left us with a timeless slice of pure joy. 9 siblings, 1 microphone, and a groove that made an entire generation believe family could actually get along on camera. The band did not last. The feeling this song gives you somehow still does. Number 3. Love Machine by the Miracles. Losing the true heart and soul of your band usually means the end of the road. But for one legendary Motown group, it was just the beginning of their most glorious chapter. When the iconic Smokey Robinson walked away in 1972, Everyone thought the miracles were completely finished. It is a harsh ritual in the music business. When the famous founder leaves, the remaining members have to fight tooth and nail just to prove they still have a voice. They found a 20-year-old kid named Billy Griffin from Baltimore and held onto a funky track originally written for a canceled girl group. With former Jackson 5 producer Freddie Perren at the controls, they crafted a track so undeniably catchy that it silenced every single skeptic. It climbed all the way to #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 in early 1976, staying on the chart for a staggering 28 weeks. It actually became the biggest-selling hit of their entire career, completely surpassing all their classic 60s tunes. But the most beautiful part of this story is not the massive sales. When the public severely doubted the band could survive, it was actually Smokey Robinson himself who quietly defended his old friends, simply telling the press to just wait and hear what they could do. Nobody expected a group written off after losing its most famous voice to come back swinging this hard. They did it anyway, with a little help from the man everyone assumed they could never replace, quietly rooting for them from the sidelines. #2, Afternoon Delight by Starlin Vocal Band.
Gonna find my baby, gonna hold her tight, gonna grab.
In the summer of 1976, the entire country was singing along to what sounded like a perfectly innocent family tune. The actual inspiration came from a plate of spicy shrimp and baked brie at a Georgetown restaurant. The happy hour menu was simply called Afternoon Delight. Bill Danoff needed a distraction while his wife Taffy was undergoing cancer surgery. So he spent his Sundays crafting a cheeky, uplifting tune to bring a smile back to their faces.
Rockets in flight. Afternoon delight.
The band consisted of 2 married couples. Their breezy 4-part harmony completely masked the subtle adult humor from strict radio censors. Plus, because America was celebrating its 200th birthday, everyone safely assumed the lyrics about skyrockets were just about 4th of July fireworks.
And everything's a little clearer in the light of day.
The public bought it completely. The single soared to #1, and they shockingly won the Best New Artist Grammy right over the heavy rock band Boston. They faded away after that one massive success: a restaurant menu, a worried husband, and a joke that got completely out of hand. That is really all this song ever was. Nobody involved expected a Grammy, let alone a nickname that would follow the band for the rest of their lives.
Afternoon delight.
#1, Muskrat Love by Captain and Tennille.
Nibbling on bacon, chewing on cheese.
Picture the most elegant dining room inside the White House. The year is 1976. America is celebrating its 200th birthday, and the president is hosting a formal dinner for Queen Elizabeth II. Out of all the beautiful music in the world, the evening's entertainment chose to sing a completely absurd ballad about 2 rodents falling in love.
Looks like muskrat love.
Toni Tennille simply loved this quirky little tune. She thought it sounded like a sweet Disney movie. Her husband Daryl even used his expensive new synthesizer to create little animal kissing noises right in the middle of the track. The musical elite were absolutely disgusted. Critics brutally tore it apart, calling it the worst song ever recorded. They were horrified that someone would play such a goofy tune for British royalty. But here is the beautiful truth about everyday people. We do not always care what the critics think. The public completely ignored the harsh reviews and pushed this lovely little joke all the way to #4 on the Billboard Hot 100. It is the perfect grand finale for our list. Muskrat Love proves that music does not always have to be a serious masterpiece to change our days. Sometimes, when the world feels too heavy and complicated, all we really need is a gentle, innocent melody to help us forget our adult worries for just a few minutes. A love song about rodents, played for a queen, mocked by every serious critic in the country, and somehow still spinning on turntables half a century later. Sometimes the songs that refuse to take themselves seriously are the ones that last the longest.
And they whirl and they twirl and they tango.
So there they are, a duck who cost his own creator a job, a symphony that dared to dance, two rodents who charmed their way past a queen's disapproval. 10 songs, born from heartbreak, mockery, and pure accident. Yet somehow, every single one of them found its way into your heart and refused to leave. Maybe that's the real secret of 1976. Joy doesn't need permission to be silly. If these melodies moved you tonight, wait until you hear what's coming next. Some stories make this one look simple. Until then, keep this old machine spinning. What song from your own year still makes you smile without warning?